Welcome to the Writer's Den. I am Jane Waters, and today we are going to be interviewing a very special guest, Miss Tinia Clark, who is well known in our community as not only an artist, but she is quite a community activist as well, using the arts as a medium for doing a lot of great things in the world. And today we're going to be talking to Tina about her book, Mars, Escape from the Meanies. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I am excited for you. You've been working on this for a little bit of time, right?
I have been. I started the project last fall in November at a place that you and I have both been to at Wild Acres.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Those of us who have gone to Wild Acres know that is probably one of the most creative spaces on the planet.
For sure. Wild Acres is in North Carolina on a mountaintop, and I went there with the intention to work on a play. And as the play developed, people told me, well, this should be a book. This could be a book, you know. So that's kind of where the book started happening as well as the play. So I had two projects going at once.
So why a play before the book? What was the inspiration for the play?
Well, I was inspired mainly from Mickey Brown and Out of the Box Theater Troupe. And she has a daughter who has special needs, and I met them when I started wanting to work more with that population. And I went to some theater productions that Brittany was starring in, and Mickey said that, you know, there's just not really enough material out there for people like us, you know, to work with. So that made me want to write a play.
How fun, how fun. When you originally sat down with pen and paper or perhaps a sketch pad, you are an artist after all.
Paper.
And right.
Watercolor, pencils.
So as you kind of sat down to sketch out what this was going to be, in your mind's eye, was it a children's book at that time?
It was a children's story, and it was inspired by a young woman, Heidi Heck, who I met through one of the programs that I offer at Side Street, who actually wanted to go to Mars. And so for me, the idea of wanting to go to another place, especially Mars, opened up all sorts of possibilities. So it kind of evolved from that.
So as you begin to outline the character or the characters that are in the book, one of the things that I notice is that there are no names associated with the characters in the book. Tell me why you decided to not name the characters.
I purposely made the characters the main character gender neutral, which means it could have been a boy or a girl, because I think children of either sex can identify with the thoughts in the book. So
tell me a little bit about the story. So our main character wants to go to Mars, and she's escaping the Meanies.
Or he,
right? He. And I have to tell you that the character, that as it's drawn, looks a little bit like you. So I kind of lean like, okay, maybe it's Tina. So when I found out it wasn't, I was actually a little shocked. So the character wants to go to Mars, and they're escaping the Meanies. So tell us a little bit about the story.
Well, the Meanies are the reason that we all want to go somewhere else. You know, kind of hide or get away because of the bullying situation that's prevalent in society today, and being different makes people tend to want to go somewhere else to escape. You know, they're different for whatever reason. They're too tall, or they're too short, or in the book they're too wide, too small. You know, their color's wrong. So with that thought, everybody gets a little bit of that. So that's why they want to go to Mars, because there's no bullies on Mars. There's no meanies on Mars. So they go there and they hope to start a new place where peace is there, and they can be themselves and embrace their individual skills and what have you.
You know, when we think about the bully concept, because that's such a real issue for children, really everywhere. It's not just in schools, it's everywhere, it's in society. You know, a lot of children's books are used in corporate settings for team building, and do you see this book maybe crossing that age gap and being able to be used in other social environments?
I do think it could be utilized in other areas. I would like for it to be as out there as it can be. I've read it to adults and to children. Kindergarten students can relate to it, as well as as grown-ups. So I think everybody at some point in their life has felt excluded or different, or like there was something wrong with them. And so that element allows for it to kind of go beyond an age limit.
Once you kind of knew what you were going to be writing, would you say that writing was kind of an easy flow for you once you began?
The book was really easy for me to put together, and
that's exciting to hear. For everyone that's watching this show that's like, oh, I get so stuck, that's exciting to hear.
Well, it ended up about 3,000 words, and for a children's book, they say that's long. But I didn't do a lot of research. You know, I have no background in writing whatsoever, other than the fact that at Side Street we have a writers group that meets, and we have a mutual friend, Donna Kelly, who has helped me, as well as Shelley Blum, who steered me in a direction later in the process. But the initial start of the book just sort of flew out. The words just, you know, the rhyming. I never thought of myself as someone that would rhyme so easily, but it just sort of happened that way.
That's wonderful. So children's books it's often said that we should write children's books without our own opinion addressed within the book. Would you say that you were able to write the book without your own opinion being easily or visibly spotted through the book?
No, my opinion is in the book. You know, I'm going to make a statement if I can. It's bad to bully. It's okay to be different. The thing that's missing most in our world is love. The grass is not greener on the other side or on Mars. You know, we have to figure out what to do here as far as bullies are concerned. And in the book, they know when they want to come home that there's going to be meanies still, and so they decide that they have to turn the other cheek, and they have to understand that maybe that person is hurt somehow inside too.
Would you say that any of the book reflects anything that you've personally gone through in childhood? I mean, I don't know how it couldn't. We've all experienced that to some degree, but is there like an area of the book where you go, yep, that was something that as a kid I really hated, and I want people to know that this is wrong?
I think there's a lot of them, and it's not just as a child. As we grow, people tell us what's wrong with us instead of what's right with us. You know, everybody has had a voice tell them that they're not smart enough, or they're the wrong color, or the wrong gender, or they're too fat, or they're too thin, or they're too short. So everybody can relate to that. Everybody's had that happen.
You know, whenever I read the title to your book, there is a new song by a performer named Pink, and it's called What About Us? And the song is very specifically geared to the audience of acceptables, we'll say it in that way, the acceptables, and they are the meanies. The song is geared toward the meanies, and this book title really makes me think of that. In the arts, some of our students specifically, they get picked on for being a little bit different, and their positive brilliance and genius in their medium, whether it's acrylic or photography or whatever their art is. How much of your art career would you say influenced the title of the book?
Originally, I wanted the book to be called I Want to Go to Mars. That was the original concept. But when I looked into the copywriting, it just wasn't going to work out. So I changed it because the meanies are part of the story, obviously. And so I changed it to where it told more of the story on the cover of the book.
So as the book continues on and our character or characters are escaping the meanies, as the writer, explain to me Mars. Tell me what they're going to. If they're escaping the meanies of planet Earth, and who doesn't want to escape that, right?
Right.
What is Mars?
Well, Mars is a place where they can all be themselves. And they come to realize in the story that it's okay to be different, that actually being different has some purpose. You know, not everybody can cook or sew or build or grow, or not everybody can do the same things. They all have different skills. So they realize that even though they're the same, everybody's different in the story.
And Tina, tell me a little bit about some of the work that you do in the arts. I know that you work with the Alzheimer's clients, that you work with special needs students. You have a drumming circle. I mean, you have just about the coolest studio going anywhere, not just in Polk County, but literally anywhere. Tell me about how some of that might have inspired some of what you were writing about and the feelings that you have as an author and a writer. Tell me how that would inspire you there.
Well, I've always felt like art should be inclusive, not exclusive. So that's kind of the platform for the studio, is that you provide an opportunity for other people to have access to art making, with the understanding that they don't all have to be Picassos or Monets, that just picking up a brush or a marker can make a difference. And so that's what sort of started the way I was going with the studio. And I met people along the way, like I met Stephen and Rachel Storjahan, and Rachel is the illustrator for this book. And she's a young woman that also has some challenges, and her brother is very creative. Both of them are creative individuals, and so I gave Rachel a chance. We met and we talked about what I thought. As you know, I'm an abstract artist, and so there's not a lot of space in here for the abstract other than the thought process, but I met Rachel, and we talked about how I saw the character and what I thought the book should look like. And she does a style of characterization which made it so easy to work with her. She lives in Lakeland, and over the course of several months we put together, she did all the drawings and I painted the illustrations for the book. And we just sort of made it work out. She actually gave my characters life, I think.
That's exciting,
and
isn't it?
In the story, in the book, you see images of children that are different, you know. They're not all the same in the story, which is what's good about it.
Well, you know, I want to celebrate all of the work that you do, not just the fact that this is our newest work from Tinia Clark as a children's story. You know, when we initially began this discussion, we were talking about a play, and that the story came after the play. So let's talk about that play and when that's going to happen, and how people can get involved, or if they can get involved, if nothing else, where they can go to see it. So you started with a play, and I always start with the same thought for you when you're going to do a new project. Where'd that come from?
Well, it started when I started going to out-of-the-box theater productions in Lakeland, and I thought, why can't we have that in our town or in our community? We should have that, because it includes so many opportunities for people to get up on a stage and to express themselves in a warm and safe environment, which is pretty big deal. They do them like every 6 months. They put on a production, and we don't have anything like that in our community. So my goal was to try to put it locally. And it ended up that I met with Victory Ridge Academy, and Victory Ridge is also someone that benefits from Rockin' on the River, and they help sponsor some of what we do at Side Street. And I met with the principal in the spring, and she said, yes, we could do a play. If you want to do a play here, we could do a play. So it's like, okay. And then I met with Molly Judy at Theater Winter Haven, and Molly helped me with fleshing it out and making the script that I had into something that could be constructed into the play format. So then we started with the school in the fall. We started as soon as school started back, and as you know, we had the hurricane, and that was kind of a little setback, and then we had Thanksgiving. So in all, I think we've been working about 14 weeks.
So your first show is going to be in December, and I'm sure that you have future shows coming. What are your hopes with this particular play? Where do you want to see this play go?
I would like for the play to be available to schools so that they could put on their own production. I think that there are many ways to adapt it based on the number of children that want to participate. In this case, there are 16 kids, so the main character is actually split among those kids that are willing to participate in this production. So there's a lot of room for a school or an organization to take on the project and to run with it, really.
I love it. Was it your idea to have multiple students be the main character throughout the play?
Actually, necessity.
Because that's unusual.
Well, as you know, Victory Ridge Academy is a school that the entire student population has some challenge. And so it became obvious to me that the easiest way to help them would be to split up some of those lines. It doesn't really matter who's saying it. The whole gist of it is the same regardless. It doesn't have to be one person carrying the whole load.
Well, I think, and what was in my mind was that the character is gender neutral, and it gives that a lot of steam to have different, because I'm gathering it's boys and girls being the main character throughout this.
It is. It's smaller children and larger children, you know. It's a big blend of ages and abilities, but they're all doing great. I can see an improvement in their self-esteem and their confidence as we've gone along. And so that in itself is really rewarding.
The performing arts, with all alternative art therapies, we see amazing work, but the performing arts just does brilliant things for some children, well, and some adults that are going through difficult or challenging times. So I'm very excited about that. When I think about a play, I think music, and there has to be music. It's a play, so tell me about who helped you with music and how that came together.
There's two sections of music, and one of the individuals that helped me is Jeff Hubert, and he is a Lakeland resident who is also challenged, and he's done some work that will be included in the video that will be presented at the start of our play.
Oh, that's exciting.
And also Josh Miller and Ronnie Zeller and his girlfriend Rebecca, they have helped tremendously.
Josh is a gem. He's just a great guy.
They have made this into something that I am so excited about. You know, they've taken the bull by the horns, and they've got a great Meanies opening song, and there's some continuity to it, the feel of it. The kids are excited about the music and the production, so I could not have made it what it is without them. And I think that even after we get this production underway, we'll keep working to make it better so that more people can have opportunities to listen to that music, because it's like a soundtrack to the book. It's awesome.
Will you have sponsors for the play that will make it possible for school children to attend this play, or for the play to maybe go to different schools? And I'm saying that with specific intention because it costs a lot of money to put together anything that looks like this type of production.
I don't have any specific intention at this point to take the show on the road necessarily. We do have someone other than Rockin' on the River that has provided some funds to help us, and we're indebted to the Homer and Annette Thompson Legacy. They've made part of this possible as well. We're going to take the books to the schools first. And it's been such a whirlwind thing that I haven't thought much beyond that December 15th and 16th date as to what could happen in the future. But we've got the books ready to go to the elementary schools and to the special needs schools, as well as to our libraries locally in the county. We're going to give copies of those with some of those funds that we've received. As far as taking the show outside, we don't have any plans, but the show is free. No one has to pay to get in.
That's lovely.
And we hope that everybody will bring their big brothers and little sisters and their family and their friends, and that we can fill up a lot of those seats in that big auditorium.
Wonderful, wonderful. Do you have plans to do future work?
I'd like to do another book, but I'd really like to tweak this one even more. We did a limited run production. It's not really out there like on Amazon or anything at this point. We had a book signing last week, and both Rachel and I were there, and we had a lot of support and good feedback on the book. And it's just sort of happened really fast. Even though I started it last year, I didn't actually get the book printed until September. And so it's been, in the last few months, pretty hectic.
Well, you bring about energy wherever you are. That's just part of who you are as Tinia Clark, which is wonderful. I would be shocked if it didn't have that same kind of following, that same kind of energy. But children's books are unique in the world of authors and book writers, in that if it's got a really solid story, it picks up and takes off pretty quick. And this is definitely a solid story, definitely.
Well, I hope it will take off.
So we've talked a lot, Tina, about the book. Obviously, we're at the Writer's Den, and that's what we talk about. But what I find very interesting here is that writers come in, and it's never just one art form. Never. It's yeah, I wrote this book, and I was excited, and I worked on it for however long. But I also do, by the way, music, or I do, performing arts, or I paint, I draw. How important do you think it is to just be creative?
I think that just having the idea and following that path that it will lead you on, which will surely take you to what about this and what about that, whether it's a book or a play or music, you have to kind of integrate all of the things together to get a multi-layered product like this. But I would say you're not necessarily, you don't have to have a degree in writing. You don't have to have a degree in art. God knows I don't have a degree in either of those things. And so,
and you're extremely accomplished. I want to say that, extremely accomplished in everything that you do. And it's fun to watch your success, because you are the very first person to say you don't have to do all of those things. And here you have a book, you have a studio, you have a nonprofit, you work with schools. Even in that creativity, you're constantly moving.
I think we are all fluid beings, and that you have to follow your passion. Mm-hmm. And that's your purpose. Your purpose and your passion go hand in hand. And if you just follow it, it won't lead you in the wrong direction.
So as the author of this incredible book, what do you want to tell the Meanies?
We outnumber you.
Tina, you have been incredible to interview. Thank you so much for your time today. And I'm looking forward to future work. I know you well, and our community knows you well, and I do not see this being the last of these types of efforts. So thank you so much for coming in, and best of luck with the play, and I'm hopeful that it'll be picked up and taken out into the community and other places.
I hope so. Thank you, Jane, for having me.
Thank you for joining us at the Writer's Den. My name is Jane Waters. I'll see you next time.